without crying. We'll see how I go. Something that you may not know is that the 13th of May 2011 was a Black Friday. We probably should have seen this as a sign of things to come, because this was the day that our son Dexter was born, 9 weeks early. But from the start, Dexter has been a fighter, and it is his stubbornness and determination that has meant that he's still with us today. You see, Dexter's life hasn't ever been easy. We were told that he had brain damage when he was a month old, the kind of damage that has him diagnosed with a vision impairment and a severe form of cerebral palsy. Although he works on things every day, he's totally reliant on us to do everything. But while some people have labelled him as too hard or have suggested that he wouldn't be able to do things, he has fought and risen above. We were told that as a newborn, he would come home on a feeding tube and oxygen support. He came home fully breastfed, breathing the same air as us. We were told that he couldn't roll over, and yet we have a boy who doesn't stay still. We were told that communication was something he would probably be only able to achieve with devices, and yet he very quickly lets you know yes or no with a nod or shake of his head. By the time Dexter turned 1, he had already spent close to 5 months in 4 different hospitals. He had already had surgery and scars, both mental and physical, that would take years to heal. We already thought that he had endured more than enough. Our family had already been dealt some tough blows. We were certainly thrown in the deep end, and at times didn't think we would have been able to stay afloat. We knew medical terminology and procedures, and we understood doctors' handwriting. We had our own scars that were taking their time to heal. And then we celebrated Dexter's first birthday. It was a day of celebration for us and our family and friends. We had survived a year with a little boy who should not have survived his first night. We were starting to heal and things were looking up. Dexter was working so hard at therapies, he was gaining weight and eating solids. He was moving around and making noises. He even gave the occasional smile and very rare laugh. We were trying for a second child and life was good. But then life came and slapped us in the face once again. And exactly 1 week after Dexter's first birthday, worry started creeping back into our lives. At Dexter's 12-month review, his paediatrician picked up that he had an enlarged liver. He said not to worry, that it was probably nothing. He sent us for tests just to be sure. 3 days later, an ultrasound technician uttered the words that will undoubtedly stay with me forever. He has a mass that needs treating. I vividly remember sitting in the car park gutter, giving Dexter his breakfast and making the call to Andrew. I don't remember what I said, but I do remember sobbing, uncontrollable sobbing, as I broke the news. Not for the first time, we were broken and we didn't know how we would get through. But we had something to get us through, to push us through. We had Dexter and we had hope. We also had a secret that meant we had to make it through. See, about an hour before that technician uttered those life-changing words, I had done a pregnancy test and it was positive. Dexter was going to be a big brother, so he needed to survive. We had a couple of anxious weeks and trips up and back to Sydney Children's Hospital. Dexter underwent more surgery, a liver and a lung biopsy, and insertion of a central line to make receiving medication easier. Because he was so little, the surgeon broke one of his ribs when they performed the lung biopsy. He was in agony and our hearts broke all over again. To help with his pain management, he was given a common, strong pain relief. Turns out that he didn't really like that drug, and not for the first time or last time, I walked into the ICU to see my son surrounded by medical staff, his limp little body being thrown around as they fought to make him breathe again. That is a sight that no parent should ever have to see. And yet Andrew and I witnessed that scene twice that day. It's an image that never goes away. And then on the 13th of June, on Dexter's 13-month birthday, we received the confirmation that he had hepatoblastoma, which is liver cancer. He had a tumour that was roughly 5 by 6 by 7 centimetres, the size of a grapefruit, in the right lobe of his liver. Our life as we knew it was about to get even more interesting. By this time, Andrew and I were living apart, but not by choice. We were alternating our sleeping arrangements. One of us could sleep beside Dexter in a small, single fold-out bed, providing comfort to him when he woke and spending the night listening to the hospital noises. The alarms alerting anyone listening that infusions needed tending to. The chatter of the night nurses trying to fill in the long and dark hours. The sick child vomiting because of the chemotherapy. And the sad, lonely cries of other parents. Some newly diagnosed, some just tired from their own fight, and the ones who lost their fight and couldn't hold it in anymore. Meanwhile, whoever wasn't staying with Dexter would make the lonely 5-minute walk back to the Ronald McDonald house. There are a lot of other families there, and we would occasionally be looked at because we didn't have our child with us, and because we would leave early and get back late. We would always be messaging each other for updates, and there'd be updating family on what happened during the day. We would then shower and cry, and then fall into a restless night's sleep, and it was these nights that I found the hardest. Prior to Dexter commencing chemo, we had to agree on a treatment protocol. The oncology team wanted to use the standard protocol, which would have meant that Dexter would have lost part of his hearing. I remember the day that we were told this. I was half sitting and half lying on the small couch, holding Dexter, who had finally fallen asleep. The oncologist told us the treatment that they would be using and the side effects. I couldn't stop the silent tears. After he left, Andrew calmly got up and closed our flimsy curtain. He took Dexter out of my arms and put him in the cot. He then made me stand and held me, protecting me. It was in that moment that we knew that we had to fight and we could do it together. And so we took Dexter's advice and we fought for him. We questioned the treatment protocol, and after many discussions with the oncology team, we settled on an alternate and one-of-a-kind treatment, which is fitting really because Dexter is a one-of-a-kind kind of kid. Dexter endured a total of 6 rounds of chemo. His little body would be hooked up via his central line, and the cytotoxic drugs would run continuously for anywhere between 48 and 96 hours, depending on what round he was in. Dexter developed a quick routine. Day 1 would see him having loads of energy and a big appetite because of usually being fasted the day prior for scanning. Day 2 was slow and boring. The drugs were taking effect and he would be losing energy. Day 3 was horrible and would see him vomiting and cranky at everything and everyone. Day 4 would see us waiting and waiting to be released back into the fresh air. Once a month, Andrew and I would pack up our lives and head to Sydney. We would unpack our belongings, spreading them between the oncology ward and the Ronald McDonald house. We saw a lot of the same families. However, we tended to stick to ourselves, which was an almost protective manoeuvre, not wanting to get close to anyone. One mum that we both got talking to had had a hard fight. Her 16-year-old daughter was one of the first kids that we saw in the oncology ward. I remember her smiling, her bald head shining under the hospital fluorescent lights. She was excited because it was pizza night, and her mum was just happy that she was eating. Her mum was on her own and had moved up from a country town. She slept beside her daughter every night. She was like us and kept to herself. Although dealing with different cancer, our stories were similar. We would pass each other in the halls of the house, each trying to catch ourselves for 5 minutes. We would stand outside the ward, silently taking in the latest news and hoping that the tears weren't visible. We looked into each other's eyes when our kids were in the ICU, feeling each other's pain and taking strength from the other, knowing that we could make it, even for just another night. We weren't friends, and I couldn't even tell you her name, but her daughter's name remains in my memory. Our stories, while so similar for 9 months, have a completely different outcome. Our story has a positive ending, and heartbreakingly, Emma's didn't. People that we did get close to were the nurses, and in particular, the Wollongong nurses. They would see us weekly for dressing changes, line care, and bloods. They would joke with us about his numbers would be and when we would be turning for the inevitable blood and platelet transfusions. They would help us clean up his vomit and change him out of his diarrhea-stained clothes. Even once watching on in horror as I declared an outfit beyond saving and cut it off him. In a world that was confusing and scary, they helped us through. They watched my belly grow and made sure I was looking after myself during our long stays because of infections. Because of the toxicity of the chemo, there was concern for me holding Dexter. I remember being so heartbroken, thinking that I wouldn't be able to hold him or provide him with the comfort that I knew he would need. We got through this with purple gloves and hospital bunny robes. And I had to wait 2 weeks after each round of chemo to be able to safely kiss my son. And on that day, I would kiss him so much that he would complain and try and pull away. After the 4th round of chemo, and after 2 false hopes, we were given the all clear that Dexter would have surgery to remove the tumour. Surgery day was one of the longest days we had experienced. This wasn't the first time that we had handed Dexter over to the surgeon, but that feeling of kissing him on the head one last time, holding his little fingers in ours, and then watching them carry him off, it's just a gut-wrenching experience. 5.5 hours later, the surgeon came to tell us that the procedure had gone accordingly and that Dexter was now missing the entire right lobe of his liver. He was sent to the ICU, where he proceeded to challenge the doctors and nurses at every time, and spent quite a prolonged time there, having to be brought back to life numerous times. While Andrew and I were lucky enough to be together during days like this, to be there for Dexter and to be there for each other, it wasn't always the case. Andrew was working, and by the end of the 9 months had used up all of his available sick and annual leave days, and had to take leave without pay for follow-up appointments and the birth of our daughter. As a casual teacher, I had been pre-booked for a block of work that I was looking forward to because I'd been asked before cancer entered our lives. This work coincided with Dexter's surgery and his 2.5-week recovery. During this time, Andrew and I took it in turns. While one was at work, the other was in hospital. When we'd finally get back from work, we'd chat for half an hour, share a quick bite to eat, and then fall asleep, ready to do it all over again. We were exhausted. Nothing can prepare you for a journey like that. When the last bag of chemo was taken down, we sat down and cried and started breathing again. It was 2 weeks before Christmas and we were finally finished. Dexter had been put through 400 hours of chemo, countless blood tests, blood, platelet and plasma transfusions, and multiple surgeries.